In The Crowded Room's 8th episode, Danny self-harms after realizing that Candy, his mother, is prepared to support his stepfather Marlon instead of standing by him, despite the fact that Candy is aware of Marlon's history of sexually harassing Danny. Danny and Ariana are shown talking in Danny's cell at the beginning of episode 10. In actuality, though, he is bleeding profusely and is ready to pass out. Stan, who is yelling because he isn't obtaining the prescription drugs he needs, gets cut off in the episode. He claims to be a veteran of battle. So I assume he has PTSD of some kind. After taking his prescription, he does start to settle down. The judge in charge of Danny's case calls him at that point, though, and it's troubling. Rhea learns of Danny's actions after hearing from her professor in detail. They pay him a visit the next day. Stan informs Rhea on the way to Danny's hospital room that Danny is scheduled to restart his hearing in 2 weeks, which Rhea finds unrealistic given that Danny took this action as a result of the tense trial. Even more startling than that, but completely anticipated, is Jack assuming Danny's body. We see Jack putting Danny in jail so that he won't be able to regain control soon in Danny's mental image of the titular barn. In order to figure out how to get out of this jam, Rhea and Stan are left with no choice but to sit down and talk. Strangely enough, Rhea begins evaluating Stan's PTSD and waxes philosophical about one's control over their emotions. Danny is declared innocent by the court. Rhea predicts that if they can convince Danny of what has occurred to him, he will accept responsibility for it. Rhea has only so far pushed Danny to confront his own reality. She's prodded him in the right direction but hasn't challenged him about it since she wanted him to understand what he's been through on his own. But because it is no longer effective, she believes that this new strategy will enable Danny to understand that he shouldn't be the one who suffers as a result of what has occurred to him. By the way, Rhea loses her job as a professor since she wasn't showing up to her students and was focusing all of her waking hours on Danny's case while thinking along these lines. She claims to have seen this coming from a mile away, and she accepts that she doesn't have to divide her time between her studies and the practical experience that will make her a better criminal psychologist. Danny, did you finally defeat your demons? At the courthouse, Rhea and Danny can be seen conversing about the consequences of the ruling. Rhea claims that she struggled to accept the idea that Danny would seek out other therapists in order to go forward in life. But she ultimately realized it was significant to him. At the retreat, where Danny is seeking assistance and encounters Candy's paintings, we see Candy coming to see Danny. The paintings that appear throughout The Crowded Room's opening titles are, in fact, the identical ones. Particularly in light of the controversy sparked by Marvel's Secret Invasion's AI-generated title sequence, the creators of these images deserve fair recognition. By the way, we find out that Candy is no longer living with Marlon and has moved into an apartment. Marlon reportedly bothered her for a few weeks before ceasing on his own. Candy apologizes for not standing at Danny's side or offering any sort of protection. She briefly discusses Danny's biological father, revealing that he was violent and that Candy and Danny fled from him. She then explains why she depends so heavily on Marlon. She apologizes, but does that satisfy you? Danny and I both agree that it isn't. Danny also believes that Candy will never take any significant action to atone for everything that she has done. Rhea attempts to sympathize with Candy because of what she has through, but Danny doesn't share her viewpoint. The Crowded Room ends with Danny leading Rhea out of the retreat, and Rhea notices that Danny has begun to unite his fragmented personality into a single identity. In addition to having an outstanding debt, Danny claims that it is now his turn to serve as the guardian angel, just as his previous alter egos had. As Rhea passes beyond the gates but turns around to take one final glance at Danny, Danny leaves and returns to his room. She glimpses a young Adam or a young Danny standing next to the adult Danny for a fleeting second. You might view it as a pivotal moment where Rhea realizes how much Danny has changed, or you can see it as the time when the showrunners once again treat mental illness as a superpower. Please leave your opinions in the space below. Click the like button if you enjoyed the video and to see more breakdowns on the channel. I'll see you soon, I hope. Thanks for stopping by.